welcome to the Road to May, presented by the Sports Trifecta. I'm your host, Sean O'Brien. Thanks for joining us. This is a horse racing podcast for kind of a recap of the prep races that lead on up to Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks over there in the first weekend of May. So glad you can join us. If you want to follow us, please do at Twitter with the handle at the Sports Tri. That's TRI. We'll be putting all our predictions up for all the races over the summer for the 3-year-old season and all the silly bets that we do because, you're already putting your money up. We decided let's put a little dignity up there too. So let's get going.
They're off.
All right, and we're off here. Going with the first segment here. This is the one about a little take on horse racing from our perspective. And this week's take today is kind of the big one. It's how to pick a Kentucky Derby winner. A lot of information is out there now, especially with the age of the internet. I mean, it's no longer just looking at a race book. You've got videos, you've got podcasts like this one, and Daily Racing Form, TCI, all those ones out there. They do a great job of breaking things down as well. I mean, by all means, check them out. The more information, the better. I'm going to give you our perspective, at least mine. I don't know about Delo's or the Control. I can tell you the Control's thing is he likes names. I actually have no idea how the Control makes his picks. He's an interesting guy. We hope to have him on pretty soon here. But I want to tell you about the way that myself, I go about picking a winner, and it's really, it starts with the fact that it's a 20-horse race. If you're going to, race anything that's 20, if it's 20 cars, if it's 20 whatevers, and you're only doing one lap, don't you think you kind of want to be towards the front of that? That traffic can really kind of mess you up, especially if it's a curved track. I mean, if this was a dead straight track, I don't know if they still do that in Europe or not, or Australia, or they have some places where it's just a really long straight track. But here in North America, we race in ovals. And the Kentucky Derby, if you're stuck on the outside or behind a bunch of horses, you're going to have to run a longer distance and better hope that you're that much faster than the elites of the age group of the 3-year-olds. So if you're in a 20-horse field, that is a huge red flag for me if you cannot get to the front by the first turn backstretch. If you're not back there, if you're stuck in the back and you're staring at all the stuff, has it happened in the past that a closer has won the race? Yeah. Has it taken extreme luck and measures? Yeah. Was Calvin Burrell on both those horses? Pretty much. You look at Street Sense, Mind That Bird. Those horses made daring moves up on the rail, and things had to break so perfectly of the horses in front of them trying to make their own moves, and then they can squirt up on the inside. It's way too much luck that has to happen for that. So if you see me ever talking about a horse like, let's say, Firenze Fire, who's a closer, I'm not going to give him high ratings to win the Derby. He may win other races. Belmont is a definite possibility there because that usually doesn't have near as many horses in it. And it's also a longer distance. Also depends kind of on the track. If you're at fairgrounds, something like that, sometimes closers get a little bit better of an opportunity. But for this sense, I want a horse that's near the front. But now I'm going to also rephrase that. My number 2 thing is I don't really want a front runner that can't show me that he can run behind a horse. The main reason is that is usually you get a lot of speed in the Derby. Last year was a little different. It was kind of a slower pace. Always Dreaming typically was a stalker, but he kind of led that race and then he just took off at the end. Those types of front runners, though, can sometimes get burned out by another one in there. Since we've gone to this point qualification instead of the graded earnings, that makes a bit of a difference. We don't really have bunny rabbits out there anymore that are just taking off, and other horses are, whoa, I got to catch up with that, and suck and win by the end. Yeah, lovely sound effects. I know, that's all my now. But yeah, so if you've got a horse that's on the front and there's another speed horse out there and they're breaking 22 and 45 in the quarter and the half, they're not going to win. It's not as bad as being a closer. Some of them, if you have an absolute stud of a horse, maybe you can go the full 1.25 miles that way, but it's a little difficult there. That's why I really love to see horses that are either stalkers or mid-packers. Stalkers are the optimal ones. Those are I'll have in others. American Pharoah, California Chrome. They were perfect where they were coming from. Just off the pace. Get around that final turn, they just hit 6th gear and they're off. Not even 5th. They're just in 6th gear and then they're gone. Those types of horses are the ones I definitely look for. And if you have a post, probably don't want the inside because you get a little boxed in regardless of that. If you're a stalker, you really got to break clean if you're in 1 through 4. Being stuck on the way outside, I'm not totally against it. It's not like Gulfstream where you're slammed into a turn right away. It doesn't help, but we have seen some outside winners take home the roses there at the end. So those are kind of the big three. I really don't want a closer. Probably don't want a front runner that's going to be matched up in a speed heat. And last but not least, keep them in the middle. Post position does matter. So even though we're going to go over some ratings here for you on where the horses currently stand, in my opinion, if all of a sudden one of these horses gets stuck on the number, 1 post, it may be tough. Or if they get stuck on the 28, hey, there's another. Maybe I'm not going to bet them as hard, and I may go really hard and say this horse is unstoppable right now, but post positions do matter. So that's my takes for right now. And also, jockeys are nice, but there's all the top jockeys are in the Kentucky Derby. I wouldn't go about that. Pedigree, people will be talking about that over and over. It's another thing I'm not too high on in the Derby because you need a lot of things to go right. I just want to see speed. If they can stay towards the front, and if they can mark some really good fractions, that's good. And my last but not least, I guess if I'm going to say speed, I want to see a horse run a mile in 1:35 and a mile in 16th in 1:41, 1:42. Those are your elite ones. Look at Rachel Alexander and things like that. Although she didn't run the Derby, but Arrogate when he was busting on the scene, all these horses that you're like, wow, Zenyatta. Look at their times in the mile and 16th, and they're all 1:40, 1:41. And I know there's track biases and all these things, but it's hard to beat a clock, okay, and do it consistently. And those horses that you look at and you're like, dude, those are super horses. Gun Runner, when he really started kicking it in, ran a 1:30. I think he ran a 1:33 mile at one point. So those are your elite times that I want to see in these prep races coming up. So let's do it. Let's recap some of the prep races that happened in the month of February. All right, here we go. We're going to recap some of the Kentucky Derby preps. This is for the boys, although we did have a filly that ran in one of these and did quite a job. Possibly one of the best performances of the Derby preps, and she may not run in the Derby, but these are typically for the boys. So cue the Let's Hear It for the Boy. No, let's not cue that song up. But let's get into it here. We had quite a few races here. 7 different points races here, and then there was some other allowance races that didn't count, but some horses popped up. We may touch on that too, but let's get right into it here. It starts off with the Withers Stakes. This was a 1.125 miles. It was ran in 1:51. It was won by Avery Island. Avery Island is a favorite of D-Lo right now. We actually had a side bet on this one because I was saying, Frenzy Fire is probably going to beat Avery Island, and I had to buy him a drink at bowling. And that wasn't really much of a bet. Frenzy Fire should have won this race, but Avery Island took it. Basically, Avery Island did an easy stalking trip, and this horse was all out at the end. If you watch this race, Avery Island is giving it his everything, and I think this is his peak effort, and that to me is not elite. So D-Lo is high in this horse. I am not. I say Avery Island is probably going to, if he runs the Derby, he'll be an 8th, 9th, 11th place horse. That's my opinions on that one here. Frenzy Fire, the horse that I say I don't want to ever talk about, but I still made a silly bet on him on this race here. He tried moving up before the half, To me, was that the owners trying to test to see if he's possibly effective towards the front? Well, it didn't really work out. The horse was gassed at the end. He's a closer, and they just need to accept that. I mean, I like the fact that they tried it in the Withers, but he may be running some more races up at Aqueduct here. If he wins the Wood Memorial, great. He could do that as a closer. Kentucky Derby, he's again off the radar. So that was the Withers. We got a 94 in the Brisnet speed rating for that one. Next up was the Holy Bull. Holy Bull was a mile and 16th. This got a speed rating of 105. This is one of the fastest run prep races so far. It was a mile and 16th, and he hit the winner here, Audible. Came through loud and clear, hit the winning time, that magic number of 141, did it 141.92, just sub of 142. This horse stalked a really hot pace, and then he just took over the lead at the top of the turn. Then once the stretch hit, boom, he had another year. He hit that 6th year, took right off. He's running in 3-path too. This blew me away in this horse. This is hitting a magical number there for me, and doing it the way that he did. Audible really caught my eye. Really, really caught my eye. Some other horses of note that were in this race were Free Drop Billy. I think he ran a good race. He just got dusted down the stretch. Enticed was in this. I saw nothing out of Enticed. Tis Mischief as well. I saw really nothing out of him. Maybe he was 3rd place, but he was well beaten. Audible was the his name's popping in lights like Dirk Diggler, seeing his name in lights. Audible appeared above my head. What? Wow, this horse, that's incredible. I really want to see more Audible coming down here. I mean, he could probably make the Derby just on the points alone that he has right now, but I really want to see another prep race in him and see if he can duplicate this, because that was a hell of a performance. 105 in the speed rating. Let's go down to the Robert B. Lewis, which was kind of the opposite. That was an 88 speed rating, according to Brisnet. That was a mile and 16th, and that was running a time of 145. And it was by Lambo, who went gate to wire. He was never challenged, despite slowing down the second half of the race. I can't write off Lambo because nobody challenged him, so does he have to run all out and try for a 141, 140 time? No. So, he won it. He's on my, I got a card for him in my horse profiles for the Derby. You can keep an eye on him. I want to see what else is here. It was too easy of a race for him. Too easy. He slowed down, he still won. It's Dream Tree-esque, if you're going to compare it to the Phillies at all. So that was Robert B. Lewis, got an 88 again. Not that great of a thing, but I think we got a horse out of it. The Sam F. Davis was next up. That was a mile and 16th. This one was run pretty fast as well, as a 142.44. Got a 101 on the Brisnet speed rating. The winner was Flame Away. The big horses that were coming into this were Catholic Boy and Vino Rosso. Catholic Boy did well up at Aqueduct and then shipped down to the south here for this one. And he, it wasn't the worst performance. I mean, he still did very well, and he barely lost to Flameway. I mean, they both put up a pretty good time. These are not shabby times at all. He just got outdueled. Flameway had a really strong performance, and he showed a will to win down the stretch. These horses were bumping and grinding, R. Kelly style, eye to eye, down the stretch, and he put Catholic Boy away. I mean, his horse was not shook at all. So Flameway definitely caught my eye in that one. And Vino Rosso, this horse may not have had the best of trips. He was flying down the stretch, though. If they go another 16, if they're doing a mile and a quarter or a mile and an eighth, he looks like he beat these other two. I don't know. The style hurt him a little bit in this one, though, and with that in mind, he's probably not a Derby horse because the 20-horse fields that we were talking about earlier. Neither is Catholic Boy, but Flameway, it's interesting. I'll keep an eye on him as well. Next up is the El Camino Real. This was a 102 on the speed rating. It was a mile and an eighth, ran at 150, basically 150 flat. The winner was Paved. This is the filly. the girl came out and beat all the boys. Had a really strong close. Didn't show really early speed, but hey, she beat all the boys up. This one is up at Golden Gates, and it's kind of the only race they do up there. But it was a strong performance. Put up a nice speed figure there too. City Plan was on this race path too, and he was in this race, and City Plan did pretty good. I think if he was in the game City Skylines or SimCity, he's got a population around 100,000. It's a weird reference, but okay. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, Paved did very well. Paved should be on the list for the Oaks now. Keep an eye out for her. Let's see where she goes. I mean, we could beat the boys and put up a time like that in mile and eighth. Why not try for the Derby? But that's up to her owners to decide. So now let's go to the Risen Star. The Risen Star was a mile and 16th, ran at 1:42.95, so just underneath 1:43. 98% speed rating. Bravazzo won this race. Snapper Sinclair was in this, finished second, and Instilled Regard was in this, and beaten pretty well. Bravazzo, I'll go over the race here a little bit for you, basically led the whole way, which is kind of tough to do at fairgrounds because it's a tight turn, long stretch, closer type of track, and Bravazzo just kept a slow pace and nobody wanted to challenge the pace, so the field stayed really tight. Then eventually dueled down the stretch and just nipped Snapper Sinclair, who basically had the same exact performance as Bravazzo, to be honest. Just got beat by a nose. I mean, this was really tight. And then Instilled Regard got caught in the middle and couldn't kick down the stretch. Noble Indy was in there as well. Came on charging for a good third on the inside. What do I take away from this? I mean, Instilled Regard I had kind of up there because of the whole McKinsey Solomini race there back in December. However, I don't know if Instilled Regard, great name, but I don't know if he's going to do this. Yeah, the slow grouping, that allowed the front two to do everything that they needed. I don't know. Bravazzo and Snapper Sinclair, we'll keep an eye on them. They're decent times, and especially for running a slow first part. I'm interested to see how they race in different conditions there. The last one was the Southwest Stakes. My boy Jack was in this. It was a mile and 16th in the slop. It was a time of 1:46. With the slop in this, I think it really helped. He had a good close. I'm not completely sold on my boy Jack. I've seen him beat pretty bad in the past. Combatant was close as well. Other horses all got tired in the mud. I'm going to throw this one away. What I'm noticing is if these horses race in the mud, just bet the closers. All these horses these days seem to just burn themselves out in the mud. I don't know what it is. And then a closer comes up and you'd think getting all the mud kicked in their face if they would, but I don't know. They keep going. So, my boy Jack, winner. 1:46 flat. I didn't look up the Brisnet speed rating, but I imagine they're going to amp it up because it's in the mud, but I don't know, 1:46, take it as you will. I think equivalent on faster, maybe like a 1:44. Give me 2 seconds. But that's the boys. Let's hit on the ladies, the fillies. Okay. Alright, on to the Kentucky Oaks Preps races of February. This one was only 5 compared to the boys. And we had some good races here. We're going to swing it on out to the Forward Gal first. This was a 7 furlong race. I'm not a huge fan of 7 furlong races. It's February. Let's start putting the distance out a little bit here. Alright. It was 7 furlongs, ran 1:23.47. Take Charge Paula was the winner. She broke fast, slowed up, and stalked a little bit. Blew a turn a little bit at Gulfstream, which is a little bit tough to do because they're pretty wide sweeping turns there. But she still finished strong. Take Charge Paula beat Sultry. She looked like Sultry looked like extra distance may help her. She's a mid-packer. She's very, very strong down the stretch, just just not the race shape that fit her style. That's sultry, keep a little eye on that name there. 7 furlongs, it's tough to take these right now. I don't really want to bite too much into that one. Then we had the Las Virgenes, which was a mile. They ran at 1:39.45. That was won by Dream Tree. She was a little bit hesitant to be on the lead horse. Excuse me, she was a little hesitant to be the lead horse, but she made a big move at the top of the turn. And then she just buried the field with the ease down the stretch. So she could have been faster, which is like every race that Dream Tree's been running. It's just a weak field she's running against. This is kind of maddening. I really want to see this horse go against some top quality here, because every time Dream Tree runs, she's kind of got it won by the end, and she can just put it on cruise control. Like, she puts it in neutral down the stretch for real. Watch her races. Like, and will she be caught if she runs in the Oaks and finally get a closer that can catch her? Or does she have that long distance in her? She's still a bit of a head scratcher on that, but it was a good win. Dream Tree's getting a lot of love from the other sources out there, and I can see why. Also very easy to follow. I like the silks that Dream Tree wears. Okay, and then we're going to go on out to the Suncoast. The Suncoast was run with a Brisnet speed rating of 82. It was 1:41.40, but it was only a mile and 40 yards. CS In Charge took this. It was a slow time. She won it down the stretch. None of these horses are going to be threatening in the Oaks. I'm calling it right now. The Suncoast doesn't mean anything. Wipe it out. CS In Charge. Wow me. You know, make me eat those words, but I'm going to go on I'm not even going to spend much time on it. I'm going to go on to the Rachel Alexander. One of my top horses happened to race in this one, and happened to win this one. It was Monomoy Girl. I tweeted earlier in that day, oh my gosh, Monomoy Girl's stuck on an outside post. She's going against some good competition as well, too. I mean, from what I saw, Wonder Godot's in this testing one, too. Heavenly Love. I mean, some of these horses had some impressive past experience. I was a little afraid Monomoy Girl may lose this. But she played the track to the perfect fashion. Instead of bolting to the front, like what she's done in the other races, the one that she barely lost her road to victory and such, she showed us that she can keep up with a really hot pace. But this race, she showed, hey, if they go up and I'm stuck on an outside post, guess what? I'm gonna, just hang back a bit. She did. She was way at the end of the pack in this one. Then all of a sudden, came around the final turn and just flew down that final stretch. She looked like she's possibly a closer, but she's also one from the front. Very versatile. That's scary. I'd say it bumps her up in my mind even more, and she's my number 2. Will she be my number 1 now? Well, stay tuned, you'll find out. The other ones that were in this, Classy Act was a decent second. Beat some of what I thought were the bigger names. But Wonder Godot, I'm tired of hearing about Wonder Godot. She's done. Testing 1, 2. What happened? I thought this horse was going to be, possibly a top 5 horse out of this race. Testing 1, 2 just really stepped in it, and it smells, and can't get it off. Hopefully she goes out and redeems herself, and this is just a one-off. And Heavenly Love, I remember hearing that name back in 2017, and my comments on her in this race were, yikes. Not a good race. Heavenly Love. Come down to earth, Heavenly Love. You did. But that's Rachel Alexander there. Next up is the Martha Washington, cool name for a race too. This was a 1 mile race, ran in 1:39.67. Red Ruby, for your alliteration fans out there, won the race. She closed in the slop, and boy, that's been trending, as I said earlier with the My Boy Jack race. It was a nice little push, and she just slingshot to steal the victory. Overall, she's not bad, not eye-popping, but it was the slop, so can I really tell what's going on? I don't know, 139. We'll see. Sassy Sienna was in this race. I think she's a sprinter. Not an Oaks race, but watch her in the sprinter. If you're the owners of Sassy Sienna, I expect a cut once you start her in the sprints. Wink. Alright. So, yep, that was the end of the prep races for the fillies there. And now let's just go on to the top fives. You can always check them out on Twitter, again, at the Sports Tri, T-R-I. You can always email us at sportstrifecta@gmail.com as well. And let's get on to the top fives. Welcome to medieval time, or to the top five. Okay, it's to the top five. Cable Guy fans out there, hopefully you get that reference. Yeah, Andy Dick, in a great role for Ben Stiller. Alright, so yeah, top fives. Without further ado, let's just start from number 5 on the, we'll start with the ladies first. Separation of Powers is in sole possession of my top 5 right now, in my number 5 position. Yep, that's because Patrona Margarita stunk it up. Yep, I'm giving it a Separation of Powers. She hasn't raced in a while, but she did a great job in the Frizette, and she's still up there. She beat Caledonia Road, and she did a pretty bang-up job in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and I want to see her back on the track. Next up at number 4 is Dream Tree, and Dream Tree wearing those white silks with those orange stars. Again, went through on the recaps, Dream Tree's got to face some competition before I can really put her to the top, but I still got her with a rating of an 86 out of 100 here, which is pretty damn respectable right now. After that, Caledonia Road, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, I got her an 88 still. With that, I want to see this horse race again because I haven't seen her on the track either. But it is now going to be March, so we should start seeing these horses come back, and that'll be fun to see how Caledonia Road picks it back up. My number 2, I said I bumped her up. Well, I kind of did. It's an 89 for Monomoy Girl, which I can't put her number 1 because she lost her Road to Victory running on a front running style. Monomoy Girl is more tactical, I think, so more flexible. But head-to-head in like a match race, I think Road to Victory wins. And I think that's maybe what the Oaks is going to turn into if Road to Victory comes back and shines like she did at the end of 2017. So Monomoy Girl's my number 2, and my number 1 is Road to Victory by 1 extra point at a 90. Road to Victory still needs to get back on the track as well, so March, please get here. Thank you. Now on to the males. My number 5 is McKinsey. McKinsey's been racing. Very fun to watch. This horse wins. Still lost, though, in a big race to Solomini, even though he was awarded the winner. But I do like McKinsey. I got him a number 5. I think his style is pretty good. He's shown a lot on the track already. I got him rated an 83. My number 4 is Solomini, the horse that did beat him and then got disqualified. Solomini, I got an 84. I think Solomini's a good horse here as well. Very strong. Can do some damage. Tied with Boltadoro. Technically, they're number 3 tied, I guess. So Boltadoro is still up there. I'm still waiting for Boltadoro to come back and race. I've been over what my thoughts are on him. 84 can be a 95 by the end of this. Who knows? Or it could be a Classic Empire. You never know. You know, poor Classic Empire. I feel bad for that horse still. My number 2 is what my number 1 was. Good Magic. Good Magic is still an 86 for me because Good Magic still hasn't raced. I think Good Magic's a really good horse. He was my number 1, a very close number 1. But now he's number 2 because we have a new number 1. Audible. I was talking about him earlier in the podcast there. Audible has been killing it. Look at his past performances. Look at him just on the track. This horse is a stalker. He's got great speed, great stamina. Man, tactical speed. And he buries competitions down the stretch like no other horse so far. This horse, he's destroyed some competition in the Holy Bull like they were nothing. Just amazing. Now, maybe the early moves here are, a little bit of a slight worry, but his stamina looks like he can keep up with it. I mean, if he wants to run a longer race, but he can do it, that's fine with me. So, Audible's my number 1. Prove me wrong. World of Trouble dropped off this. I want to see World of Trouble against Audible. That'd be a great race, I think. Audible. He's my number 1. So that about wraps it up. Thanks for joining us here. Do these again at the end of every month, and at the end of March is going to be a pretty crazy one. So thanks for joining us. Again, follow us on Twitter. Send us an email. Follow the podcast. And in the end, have fun. All right.